Hello ladies and gentlemen, Peter here from ALLJIUJITSU, and we have a sweet episode number 18 for you today. Our guest is Ivan Ivanov, a renowned Bulgarian wrestler, a coach and the creator of Suples Limited, a company that produces the Bulgarian bag, the very original Bulgarian bag, along with a number of other highly effective tools for grappling training. Originally he created these tools for his wrestling team, but because of their functionality they spread far beyond the wrestling community. So you see a lot of high-profile jiu-jitsu people using these bags along with general fitness professionals. In this episode, Ivan is talking to us about the origins of the Bulgarian bag and his training system, the structure of his business and key learnings along the way. Coincidentally, my very own Bulgarian bag arrived in the post today and I'm looking forward to putting it to good use tonight. It's hard to ask for better training gear during this lockdown. If you are looking to get a Bulgarian bag or a Suples ball or any other tools from Suples, make sure that you only buy these directly from Suples Limited or through authorized distributors. And if in any doubt, get in touch with them in advance. As always, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you do, please help us out by subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Spotify and giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a follow on Instagram at ALLJIUJITSU. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, Ivan, thanks very much for joining our podcast. It's a big pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of people might know you in the grappling and jiu-jitsu community, or maybe know your company, Suples, but if we could just start quickly with the origins of your company and yourself as its main representative, I guess. So how did Suples, and what Suples is as a company, and how did you get started?
I started Suples 2004. I registered a company, and mainly the main purpose of it was I created a bunch of training equipment that was mostly for me first. Years before I registered Suples, I started to make equipment, especially to benefit my athletes first. I was working as a coach full-time here in America at the club level, and then I moved to the Olympic Training Center in Marquette, Michigan. And during the entire time, I was connected with USA Wrestling national team in many ages. Mostly with the senior athletes who are training at the Olympic level. When I say seniors, that doesn't mean retired athletes, means the athletes who are training at the world and Olympic level, athletes who are training for performance. So during that time, during the coaching process, I was able to create some equipment like the Suples dummies, the Bulgarian bag, the gladiator wall, the high-intensity rope training system, and lately the Suples ball, along with different models of Bulgarian bags, different models of dummies, different trainers with models of herd system, or trainers I call them, and now with different range of Suples balls. So I was able, after all of these years, I was able to develop the products with main purpose to benefit my athletes and help me with my coaching and my training job, that I was doing, to make my job more effective, more easy for me to work with a group, especially because that was my specialty. I was always in position. I had to work with groups, with teams. I've coached one-on-one, but athletes, but all my job positions that I was under working and responsible was I was responsible for teams. So that's how the idea about Suples came. And for the last 10 years, I've been out of USA Wrestling national team working directly. I moved here to Boise, Idaho to take over leadership over another wrestling program, funded from a private investor and it lasted for a short time. And then I had to basically rely on Suples, and I moved to just to work on Suples plus my wrestling club. I started already a wrestling club, and I was able to I had to be in position to work Suples full time and make living of it. And I'm glad I'm still here and made some developments and having fun, and that's what I'm doing. That's briefly the story of how I started Suples, but once again started for myself, and my athletes first. Many people know us because of my invention about the Bulgarian bag, which Bulgarian bag it was officially I brought the Bulgarian bag on the market in 2005. So as you see, it's quite a years, but the first 5-6 years nobody knew about that. I was mostly using it to train my athletes, and then slowly I was selling some bags online. I had an online store that I had to open one because people have been asking me about my dummies more. I posted some clips how I use them. At that time, not nobody, but I never seen any video clips before my clips on official website showing how to throw dummy or how we using the wrestling dummies, and then later I posted some clips how I train my athletes on the Bulgarian bag. They still on YouTube. They can see me there with the team. I had a hair at that time, and so and so. But that's briefly the story how I started Suples.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. So it started off the necessity just to make your training more efficient with your athletes, and especially it's interesting that the approach could have been different if you, as you said, if you had maybe smaller groups or more one-on-one training. But if you have a group and you need to adapt the training process to make sure everybody is getting the right workout, let's say, so some tools could be quite helpful. And would you say overall, I guess Bulgarian bag, I guess, is the staple of your production, let's say, of your products, right? Whereas, do you feel kind of the same way about your products? So do you have any particular attachment to any of them? You say, okay, I love this one. This is my main product. Is it the Bulgarian bag, or is it some other one?
That's a great question, because right before I had a podcast with Track Wrestling. And the person who interviewed me had a Bulgarian bag, and we were talking about different Suples training tools. And I said, can I ask you a question? Which training tool do you think is my favorite? And he said, well, now after I spoke with you today, I know it's not a Bulgarian bag, but I'm wondering what that might be. And he said, well, I think that ball. I said, no, it's not the ball. You have one more shot, because I have 5 official training systems. So I could ask you the same question, but you already asked me. So he said, well, then the wrestling dummies. I said, no, you fail here. I'll tell you which is my favorite. And I just posted a YouTube clip. And right after this call, I have to go and approve another clip. It's about Suples Hertz, the high intensity rope training system, as abbreviated Hertz. That's my favorite, if you ask me. But let me tell you this. Individually, I have 5 systems. I all love them just like my children, my babies. I love them all the same. But of course, I have the Hertz as a favorite, but nothing can beat Suples, because when you bring them all together, that's what equals Suples system. And Suples system is designed to work with all of these tools. They're very easy to combine and be able to perform much more training applications when they use together. So for that, I need much more time to break it in details, but that's what we're here to talk about. About Suples and all of these training tools that I've developed. The Bulgarian back, however, the Bulgarian back is like the corpus of the ship. I don't know if I say it is in English the same corpus. In Russian, I know corpus, karavel, right?
Yeah.
It opens the door and introduced me with many different sports besides wrestling, with the fitness community. Actually, I've been performing training for winter sports, summer sports in China at the higher level and in some other countries. But I, as a founder of Suples, I want to, I can say that nothing from all of these Suples individual systems can beat the Suples system. In all of these 5 systems combined together.
And have you always had that in mind to develop a complete system, or did the tools come in one by one and then eventually kind of merged into the system, or what was your idea to start with?
No, I didn't have this vision until later. I started to. I was just because I was so much involved with the development of the training, and I started to look what's next. For example, with the Suples dummies. I mean, I have five different models, and now some more are coming. That different for different purposes, and then same with the Bulgarian back. We had to come up with another model of a Bulgarian back, because there's a reason for everything though, but mainly I was developing each of these systems with new models or more improved, much more improvement into each product with materials or whatever we want to use to make sure they're more durable, or we made slight changes with some materials, but mostly with the training applications. That's how I added. Look, just to take as a Bulgarian back, I added many different weights and sizes of the back, because I discovered the strength training can be done. Not only muscular endurance training. That's what my original idea about the Bulgarian back was, to do high rep intensity training that I didn't need much heavy backs, because it's brutal. You do a reps of 15 and above reps, or let's say 30 seconds, you have to keep working out with this bag, and then the rest time was only like 10 seconds. It's a heck of a workout, and then my heaviest bag was 37 pounds at that time. But later I developed all of these training applications, so I had to increase the weights and the sizes of the bag so I can accomplish different training applications.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and so it's kind of an incremental process to, you start with one original idea, and then as that gets adopted, you start progressing to the next thing. And in terms of your kind of formulation of the business and the idea that you could make a living out of this, and you say this can be my company, and I can be, I can grow it into something significant. When did that realization come in? Because if I understand you correctly, you said that in the beginning it was just to supplement training. It's to really just to aid. It was very, very much practical application of the these creations. But again, to repeat my question, when was that realization that you could actually take these and patent them, license them, and make something out of this?
Great question. And everything happened with me in very similar way, the way I started coaching wrestling. I came to America. I was invited from USA Wrestling to participate at the training camp, but I was also a competitor at the same time. But they asked me to demonstrate technique. And I demonstrated technique, and then after that athletes there at the Olympic Training Center express very they expressed that I was very effective. You know, they were. It's obvious that I did something to them. Something nicely and positive. They were looking for me if I have to break down technique or for some reason. Now they are the coaches as well. I'm just saying for my experience working with the athletes, and that's how I got attached to the coaching job, because I was able to make difference to the athletes, and they appreciate my coaching, and we had a good understanding, and they were able to wrestle for me, you know. And the same way I started Suples, when I posted online the dummies, I didn't invent the dummy, but I was a coach, and I knew that dummies that were offered at that time, they're not meeting my expectations, and I needed to create a dummy that I studied based on my work with athletes. I need exactly what kind of dummy I need, body proportions and the body composition, design, everything, materials and so on. So that's how I started with all of these pieces of equipment. And when I started to offer on my website at that time, people been coming to me with questions and interest, and I saw I was helpful, and that's how I continue to add more and more products, because of the people coming back to me. Like, in other words, I never go anywhere uninvited, and the same way happened to me doing coaching. The same time happened to me when I started this business. I wasn't planning this, but happened this way. And now I'm already full-time. Now it's an established business that I don't want to disappoint these people, and I'm serving them, and I have a team of people that are helping me to always bring a new improved models or new innovative equipment. And mostly I'm working on presenting to them training programs that are more effective for their needs, and teach them how to use Suples effectively. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does a lot. And just to kind of reiterate what you said, is basically there was a market for this thing, and there was a gap, but it didn't come from you just looking at it and say, hey, it would be nice to invent something for this market. As you said, again, you did something for yourself, and people happened to like it. And from questions and various inquiries, you realize that then it is actually a viable product. But what is also interesting, I've been looking at your website and various kind of social media stuff. There's so much educational material about this, because I think it doesn't matter how amazing the tool is, if people don't know how to use it properly, or they run out of imagination of how to use it, they will get bored with it and will just throw it into the corner and never use it again. But what I really like about your company is your approach in general is very much educational. So just a lot of things being shown how to use it, and you can and the tools are so versatile that you can do an infinite amount of different combinations of training. So that is quite amazing. And so the next question I have then is in relation to production and patenting. So was that a kind of a hard process to get everything patented, making sure that there's a trademark on it and so on?
That's a long process, yeah. And when I established the company, that was the first thing I wanted to do, to register Suples. And then later came Suples Training Systems, because Suples Ltd was just offering the sales of the products. But I didn't have time to develop the whole educational platform of the courses that we're doing now these days. And I had to partner with a friend of mine, Steve Nave, who is actually right here. Unfortunately, we lost Steve We lost Steve too young. He's a former Navy SEAL. He came back to me 2000 and I forgot was 2007, 8, some 2008. We connected, and I was still involved with coaching. And he said, "Well, I can lead this educational program." Anyway, I kind of like was working with him, but he started this educational platform on the Bulgarian back only, not other tools. But it was very difficult for Steve to run this by himself because I was so busy with wrestling, and he had to invest into this platform, so it was not that easy. And later he said it's going to be very difficult to move forward, so I want to work for Suples, or you have to take over this. And then I realized I lost this job here that I was telling you about at the beginning in Boise. I was basically just rely on Suples, and I thought about, well, Suples Ltd must have a training educational platform. That's the time when I went and registered Suples Training Systems, because I realized that I cannot depend on another organization to run the education for Suples. I have to handle this because now I made developments. I changed the whole course concept with the Bulgarian bag because I'm just using it all the time, and I had these ideas that based on my training I was able to modify it and make a progress with the training. So I realized I must have full control over the education, and that's how I registered Suples Training Systems, and it started basically to under each tool to have a training curriculums, and now we're offering courses on the Bulgarian back, level 1, level 2, Suples ball. We're offering a course level 1 and another on the dummies, and in the herd system we're offering workshops at the moment. It's all like a course, but I don't think it's a need at the moment. In the gladiator world, sorry, that's my next one. We're offering workshops on those training, the next 3 training systems as well. So that's kind of the story about the patents. The trademark registrations. The patent. It's also a process. It's a long process, but not all the tools are patented. But the Bulgarian back is. I have 3 models on the back. I have also trademark on the Suples ball and the Hertz. I have a patent on the gladiator wall. So it's a long process of everything, but at the end, I tell you what, everybody can copy someone, and you probably seen it. There's a copycat bags out there, and people are doing their own deal. But what I did good, I trademarked very well my exercises that I've developed. So I can tell you 99%, if I see a video posted on YouTube, I can tell you if that person was educated or certified through us, or trained, even I don't know, certified, but even trained through Suples instructor or not. I can tell you. I just need to see the core exercises, how he does the spin, the snatch, the arm throw, and the spin and swing squat, and I can tell you if that person went through our education or not. Or if he throws a dummy or uses the Hertz, I have all these. So at the end, people can copy your product. It's not very difficult, but they cannot copy your brain. And what I'm doing is I keep coming with strong weapons to defend myself against these guys who I have no respect, of course. But this is the way it is, the life. They make me stronger. They make my team stronger. I'm moving forward. I'm very well armed with other weapons because I keep coming with different models, with different improving system. and so, and have the customer decide where he wants to buy his Bulgarian bag or his dummy or whatever. I cannot, I cannot convince everybody to follow me, but if they want the original Bulgarian bag, if my logo of Suples is not there, if the trademark of the Bulgarian bag is not on the back, if my signature is not on the opposite side of the bag, that is not a Bulgarian bag, because it doesn't have the spirit of Ivan Ivanov that comes every day from morning to evening to to think about Suples, to think about all of these programs, and doesn't have the sweat and tear and the hard work in this bag. Let them decide what kind of bag they want, and let them decide what they want to say on their bag. Am I clear about that?
Yeah, very much clear, and I like this attitude. I guess you're right in saying that you can't really stop people copying something, but there is always the authenticity, right? You know what I mean? You can't fake it. You can't fake something like this.
You asked me about this because recently there were scammers coming on Facebook. These people, I don't know what they're doing. They're not sleeping. They're dumb people, but there are a lot of them. And what they do, they steal the images from our own instructors, our own Suples instructors, and they posting the images and they selling. They actually either take their money. They're scamming. They're scammers. They take their money. They don't send them any equipment. And people have been calling my office here, complaining, "Hey, we bought the bag. We never got it." Well, what site did you buy? How come? And we check here and I say, "Hey guys, this is not our website. You got scammed. You guys have to watch what you're doing." And I spend money on stopping these guys with our attorneys, but it's just there's so many. They're not offering anything. They're not offering education. I just want to use this opportunity through your podcast to inform these people that they have to watch where they're ordering their Bulgarian bags.
And we'll make sure that we're putting the correct website for people to use to purchase these things. So, but as I said, yeah, you need to be protective of your reputation, because more than anything, for you, I guess, you don't want to be accused of, scamming people, or not sending them their equipment. So that is, of course. But when it comes to somebody copying you or doing the replica products, as I said, I don't believe that you can't replicate the authenticity, and also the fact that you understand the product is designed with a certain exercise or with a certain movement in mind. You can't replicate that. And I always kind of I had a few of these conversations, and I remember back I used to work for a company, and we developed this amazing tool that was automating like a lot of the processes, and the bosses of the company were always worried. It's like, well, what if somebody else gets the hang of our tool, if somebody leaves the company and stuff. It's like they won't be able to do anything with this because they don't know how it was or why it was developed, for what reason. So you need that, because you've built it from the ground up, from nothing. Essentially, exactly what goes into it and why it's that shape, why there are these handles, what is this, and then consequently, then you can develop your training systems as well. So again, I applaud you for your attitude towards this. And in terms of the process from design to production, so how does this happen, and where? So do you just kind of draw them out, sketch them out somehow, or maybe do some prototypes, and where these all these tools produced?
Yeah, I sketch it. I designed the whole back. I knew exactly what I wanted to have, especially talking about the Bulgarian bag. But I did this with all my products. First drawing ideas, and then make a prototype, 1, 2, 3, until you get the right one, right? Because normally it's too naive to say, "Oh, I got it the first time." No, it did not. And I keep changing it, and we keep changing it, and making it better and better, of course. But it's a process. But eventually we started production in my home country in Bulgaria. And my brother is a big part of this. He is a former wrestler. He's helping me with leading the production, and then make sure that we getting exactly my dreams are basically executed the way I want. You know, like turn the idea into a product. You know, like quality and all these very important essential elements that must be, you know, in order to package something and offer it to sell. Because when I was using it for myself, you know, for my athletes at first, I thought, oh, this is a complete product. But then as soon as I spent like a few months working on it, it's like, wow, I can make this a lot better now. Because I'm using it. I have ideas, and we keep making changes and changes and changes, all for good, right? That's how the other models of the Bulgarian bag came. And most people probably don't know the Suples Strong model. Even the Suples Ball is the evolution of the Bulgarian bag. Even very, very often in my video presentations, I will call the ball a bag because the idea came from the bag. And I say, oh, sorry, I meant the ball, you know, and when I'm explaining. So I'm making all of these progressions based on my experience working with tools. So
Yeah, and I guess there's a little bit of pride element going that they are actually produced in Bulgaria. That is
absolutely, yeah. We try to keep all the production there. Um, we have a good structure and a closed circuit that we have total control of what we getting and how it's made and everything. Yeah, that's something that I'm very proud of because we have total control of this. We make everything in the house basically.
yeah, and it is truly Bulgarian bag.
The bag they get, especially no, not everything. It's made in Bulgaria. I don't make anything in China so far. I don't say anything negative about China, but a lot of people right now with this situation are worried. Maybe some people lost their businesses there because the Chinese companies maybe they don't operate the same way. But you know, thanks God we're still doing well. Bulgaria, they also had their quarantines and their lockdowns, but the production so far is not stopping, and we have full control, and our imports are going well. So we're safe that way.
So my next question then is in relation to your market. So I presume majority of the products and the training systems that you sell is kind of close to you, which is in the US. So US it must be your primary market, right?
Yes, U.S., but we're also selling abroad. In the fitness market, I think we're pretty much in Europe, pretty good. In Europe, in Asia, and in especially South Korea. We started to introduce the bag to Japan now, but South Korea, we have over 500 certified Bulgarian bag instructors at the moment.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, in South Korea. In Europe, we have a lot more people using the bag. We've been selling a lot more, but I think the certified instructors are about the same. But we have more people who don't need instructions, don't need the certificate. They just like the product with the instructional video, and they can just use it and modify the training, or they can use it just by copy and see, like copying basically the exercising, or watching the video. Watch
Yeah.
and copy, in other words, the
Yeah.
exercise. So, but in South Korea, we were able to establish this education more. Probably people value the certificates much more. In the United States, also, we have quite a people certified here, instructors. But here we've been mostly in the wrestling market, not really much in the fitness. Plus, the last 5.5 years, I've been partnering with the International Wrestling Organization, the governing body of the sport of wrestling internationally, United World Wrestling. So we've been supplying like training centers around the world, mostly in wrestling. So every federation around the world who is one of those top wrestling countries in the world. They know about our brand through our partnership with United World Wrestling.
Yeah,
But again,
that's
mostly
fascinating.
narrow market, wrestling market, but that's how we connected with the Jiu-Jitsu people.
Yeah, and that's what I want to ask about as well. So, how do you view the Jiu-Jitsu grappling community? I've seen recently, I haven't been paying that much attention. I was always aware of Suples. I knew about the systems. I've been kind of familiar with it for a long time, but it's only recently that I started noticing some of the quite high-level Jiu-Jitsu guys actively kind of promoting the product and using it on social media. So how do you view the grappling community and the jiu-jitsu community?
I respect them a lot. We have very much in common in our training. We train grip, we train muscular endurance, we train explosive power. I mean, all of these training applications that you can use for benefiting a wrestling performance, they can be used for the jiu-jitsu. Actually, here I had a couple of gyms here in Boise, and I was doing partially some strength conditioning training, especially in the mornings when I'm not in traveling. I would personally train jiu-jitsu athletes here in Boise, so I connected with them, and I knew they really liked the Suples. They really like the Suples training. But in general, what I can say, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo, MMA, name it, any combat sport need to have, except boxing, I won't talk about that because I want to give them as a positive example. Any of these sports that I just mentioned, they don't have any development into their strength training in their gyms. For example, I'll give you examples so you can understand me better. If you walk into a traditional wrestling room, what do you see? One or two wrestling mats and padded walls. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So tell me more about Jiu-Jitsu gym. Isn't it about the same? Just a tatami instead of mat. Is that the same?
Pretty much.
Okay. Maybe I say someone was more creative and then attached a pull-up bar on the wall. Is that correct? Okay. Now, have you seen the Suples gym on videos?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. So 5 systems there. You'll find the gladiator wall with all the accessories for strength training, flexibility. I mean, I don't want to talk about programs right now. You're going to see Bulgarian back. You're going to see 5, 6 models of dummies for different purposes of training. You're going to see the Suples ball. You're going to see the high-intensity rope training system, the elastic bands. Plus, if you have an extra space, you can still put your free weights. But it's everything right in there. And when you walk in a gym like that, well equipped, this is a great way how to modify and make a progress with your training. And we're here maybe talking about Suples overall like a conditioning type of training. No, people don't know that I use Suples for technical training, big time to benefit technical skills. And I'm a wrestling guy. I can't talk about how Suples can technically can benefit technique from Jiu-Jitsu or Judo. I know a little bit about these sports, but I'm not the expert. But I know one thing, that I created equipment that can be modified to all of these combat sports needs. And they can be kept inside the gym, which is safe. I know that it's safe and can be modified to be adjusted to all of these different sports. I hope I explained it.
I think it's a perfect explanation, and I think it's a good note to what the gyms look like traditionally, what your gym looks like. And I've always been kind of fascinated by this question. I don't have the answer to it, and what what place does a jiu-jitsu or judo gym or whatnot take in the overall preparation? Because in jiu-jitsu community, a lot of the times we see our classes, our training predominantly is technical jiu-jitsu training, and everything that is not training should be done outside of it. So we don't incorporate the physical training, the technical training, maybe with the dummies and so whatnot, into the core training. So that is seen as a separate element, whereas you are kind of integrating it. So it's everything right there and right there available. So, and I really like this. What I don't like sometimes is I see, so there's some new companies, some older companies that propose to replace training pretty much with dummies altogether. Say, okay, this is your dummy, and you train with the dummy, and you can do No, you can't. But for something like high amplitude throws, where you don't want to be throwing your opponent over their head and potentially injuring them over and over again, something like your dummies, they're perfect for this, because there's certain anthropometric properties that you can use that are similar to a human body. The weight, I believe that the specific weights of these dummies, the size and all, and rather than throwing your partner, potentially injuring them, especially for.
That's a good example, and sorry, I give you another idea about now talking about the dummies. You're absolutely right. You cannot rely on the dummy to get your complete performance. It's just, I cannot lie to people. The dummy is a dummy, but also, see, I'm a coach, and I know that I cannot treat the athletes like robots and to give them the same old every day. I have to make changes. I have to give them training tools to exercise, right? Because it's different, and you don't have to worry about if somebody's going to do incorrect throw. And mostly what I wanted to share with you about my new innovation. It's not new anymore, but I keep saying it's a new innovation. These speed dummies that I made very light, for example, and in a specific proportion of the body and materials and everything I picked, so I can replace a big percentage, a big time of my traditional warm-up by sharpening skills rather than jogging around, tumbling, stretching, which we all do. I don't have to explain to you. People understand what we do. Cartwheels, front rolls, which is great. Don't understand me wrong. But now I discovered the Suples Speed Dummy. And guess what I do? I have 2 hours to train these kids when they come to the wrestling session for high performance training. And in America, the kids coming from high school season, which I haven't seen them for 3 months, for example, they had to compete the American high school style. Then we have to train them to wrestle Greco-Roman wrestling, which is the Olympic style, you know that, right? And traditional freestyle wrestling. So now, how can I teach these kids to throw when most of the time, they wrestle low stance position and they shooting. I have to teach them how to throw. If I give them, on top of everything, if I give them 30 minutes a warm up to run around and do lunges and all, I have no time to teach technical skills. So I had to cut time, and I have to think about this, and that's how I created the Suples Speed Dummy. So immediately, for example, most of our workouts are just like that. They come to the room, I line them up, and I tell them what the task is for today, and I send them to warm up with throws right on these dummies, on the speed dummies, because they light. They light. They're not going to beat their body down. They're going to warm up the muscles that we're going to use in these throws, for example, and it gives me a great chance to go and correct these kids how to fix technique. And then at the end of the warm-up, they're sweating and they're ready to do the main part of the workout with the partner. So that's how I started to implement the Suples training tools to help me also in my instructions for the technical part of the wrestling session.
And so what are, at this point, so obviously there is perhaps some disruption of things with the pandemic and everything. But what are your future plans for development? And hopefully we'll see more of you in the jiu-jitsu community. I'd like that. So how are you thinking about the market currently from a business standpoint, and how are you planning on developing?
First, my short-term goal is to, I already started this, to educate people how to, I want to present to them the entire complete Suples system rather than just talking about the Bulgarian bag or a dummies, or no, I want to talk about Suples. You know, that's the major goal I have now. And I started to improve my training programs that include a lot more Suples equipment working together. Now, as far as the jiu-jitsu market, I already had connections with leaders of jiu-jitsu, the sport of jiu-jitsu, and I just started to communicate more often with them and partner with them on some ways. And hopefully in the future, we're actually planning some clinics or workshops with especially for jiu-jitsu clubs in the United States mostly. So partnering with these leaders can help us big time educate the jiu-jitsu community how to use Suples and to transfer or modify the training curriculums to benefit the sport of jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, or we can even talk fitness, because fitness it's about the same, you know, just you have to modify the intensity and the volume of the work and use a lighter bag, and you get your fitness workout.
So ideally, if somebody was to set up a gym and say, I want this stuff, so they would want the entire system. So can you tell us again, what are the 5 products that you have?
The first thing, the first product that you need to put in your gym, if you really want to equip it like Suples, is the Gladiator wall. The Gladiator wall is the foundation of the Suples gym. And you put these walls right in your jiu-jitsu studio, and they're just like about 1 foot
off the wall.
Away from the wall, yes. And then you can cover them with safety panels that we started to show now. We have those available for sale now. And you can make this, install the safety panels, which is only, if you have your athletes there, it takes like seconds to immediately install those panels, and they can start doing their jiu-jitsu classes or any combat classes. We do wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, whatever. And then when you like to condition or strength condition, you can take the panels out, put them on the side, and then opens the entire Gladiator wall for strength conditioning training. The next product I'd like to suggest is looking to the models of dummies that we're offering that can benefit the jiu-jitsu, the sport of jiu-jitsu, the Bulgarian bag, and some accessories, mostly for grip training, the gi rope, the gi vest, so and so. The Suples ball, especially for conditioning, for cardiovascular workout, and the high-intensity rope training system. Plus, we also have a soft leather kettlebells. We call it Suples bell, made out of leather. Everything is designed to be brought on the mat and to train athletes from kids age, which we have. I have my own wrestling club here that we operate on daily basis in kids age up to 18 years old, and we also train performance athletes in wrestling, so they can have they can train all of these age groups of athletes, or age levels, or fitness levels. Because now, if you have your studio and you have Suples in your studio, you can also have customers coming to your jiu-jitsu gym just to get their fitness. They go wrestle jiu-jitsu a little bit, and then they can do the next time of the workout using these Suples functional training equipment just to stay fit.
Makes sense. That's amazing. So as I said, I'm sincerely hoping that we'll see more and more academies using these tools. So I'm a big fan, and I'm pretty sure. I know already, as I said, a lot of people are using them, but hopefully we'll see a lot more of this. That really kind of concludes my set of questions. Hopefully, it's not the last time we speak. Ivan, thanks very much for joining. I really appreciate your insight, and wish you all the best with your company.
Thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate this.